My name is Mariel Dane, and I am 46 years old. I have spent 14 years in compliance quiet, methodical, invisible. That morning in Boston, invisibility ended. The first sound was the ping of an incoming email, then another. By the time the third alert echoed across the boardroom, the air felt heavier, charged, like static before a storm. Every screen on the glass wall blinked to the same subject line: immediate IRS compliance alert, unauthorized change detected. I stood just inside the doorway, half in shadow. The team froze. Someone whispered, "Is this a test?" The CFO's mouth twitched. The HR director started typing, frantic. Then the door slammed open so hard the blinds rattled. The CEO burst in gray suit, eyes wide, voice sharp enough to cut through the hum of machines. "Who authorized this?" he barked. The words cracked like a gunshot. No one answered. He scanned the room. Then his gaze dropped to the table. My badge lay there. Plastic, laminate, harmless. If you did not know what it was, it caught the fluorescent light, glinting like a dare. The orange tag beneath my photo read, "Authorized Federal Liaison Active Credential." The CEO reached for it, hesitated, then turned to Kendra. "My manager, what is this doing here?" She tried to laugh, that brittle sound people make when they are too close to panic. "Oh, that's Mariel's?" She left it on my desk when she left. His tone sank lower. "I told her the role was being outsourced," Kendra stammered. "She said she understood." I didn't think the room fell silent again. On the main screen, the alert refreshed: compliance access revoked, federal authorization missing. For a moment, no one breathed. The CEO stared at the badge like it might detonate. The projector whined, fans spinning harder, the sound of a system overheating. Somewhere, far below us, a fire alarm clicked on but did not sound, just a red light blinking in the corridor. I watched from the glass reflection, unseen, steady. That badge, it was mine, yesterday, at 10:30 in the morning. My manager had smirked and said, "It's outsourced, honey." And that was how the countdown began. Kendra called me into her office at 9 sharp. Her voice had that brittle brightness managers use when they already know the answer to a question you have not yet asked. She gestured toward a chair across from her glass desk. "Mariel, let's keep this quick." "Okay." The leadership team made some strategic decisions over the weekend. Her screen was open to a slide deck titled Operational Streamlining. She clicked through it too fast for me to read, but I caught the headline, "Compliance Functions to Transition Offshore." My throat tightened, but I said nothing. Kendra's smile was wide, rehearsed. "You know how it is, global efficiency." "Right. We found a vendor in Singapore who can handle documentation and audit submissions at scale. The CFO says it'll save nearly $200,000 a quarter. Isn't that something?" I watched the reflection of the slide in her glasses. The bullet points were all verbs: consolidate, automate, eliminate. "So," she continued, "your current role will be dissolved as of Friday. HR will email the severance details, and IT will help you with, well, the transition." She folded her hands like we were discussing the weather. I kept my tone even. "You do know my credential is federal, not corporate." Kendra laughed softly, waving one manicured hand. "Oh, honey, those things always transfer. The new team will handle it. You won't need to worry." "Honey." The word hung between us like perfume gone sour. I rose, smoothing my jacket. "I see." "Don't take it personally," she added quickly. "You're great, but the company's moving forward. You'll land somewhere. Maybe consult. Do your own thing. Fresh start." Her voice lifted as if she were selling me hope at a clearance price. Outside her office, I walked past my desk, or where my desk used to be. An intern was boxing the last of my files. My nameplate already peeled off. A sticky note on the monitor read, "Storage B3. 14 years of signatures, audits, and midnight calls reduced to a cardboard box with handwriting that wasn't mine." I told the intern to leave it, Then I walked to the elevator, the hum of the floor fading behind me. At 10:47 that morning, I walked back into Kendra's office without knocking. She looked up from her laptop, startled but trying not to show it. "Mariel," she said, her tone wrapped in artificial warmth. "I thought you'd left for the day." "I came to return something." I placed the black plastic badge on her desk, the laminate catching the overhead light. My photograph stared up, beside the line that read, "Authorized Federal Liaison, Active Credential." Kendra tilted her head, amused. "Oh, come on, honey. That's not necessary. HR will collect your badge on Friday. This isn't HR property." I said, "It's federally registered. It grants this company the right to self-certify under IRS and GSA compliance contracts. It doesn't belong to Nexlia Systems. It belongs to the United States government and to me, as their designated signatory." She blinked once, twice, the smile beginning to wilt. "Mariel, you're making this sound dramatic. It's just a badge." I let the silence sit. She reached toward it with 2 fingers, like she might move it aside. "Look, I appreciate that you're upset. Transitions are never fun. But we'll handle the paperwork. It's symbolic. Right. You're making a statement." "It's not a statement," I said quietly. "It's protocol." Her hand froze in midair. The words landed heavier than I expected. I straightened the badge so the seal faced her directly. "I've signed off all open filings. You'll need to submit a change of authorization before using any of the federal systems. That process takes, on average, 6 months. Kendra laughed again. "Too quickly. We'll have our offshore team take care of it." "Good luck," I said, stepping back. The automatic blinds behind her adjusted to the noon sun, flooding the room with white light. For a moment, she looked almost transparent against it, a figure drawn in glass and nerves. When I turned to leave, she called after me, "Mariel, this isn't how we do things here." I paused in the doorway. That's the problem. Kendra, you never learned how things actually work. Then I walked out. The door closed softly behind me, and the badge stayed where it was quiet, waiting. By the time I reached my apartment in Charlestown, the afternoon light had already turned the windows pale and cold. I set my bag down, turned on the terminal, and watched the encrypted dashboard flicker to life. My access key still pulsed green in the corner of the screen. 42 minutes left. I had written every line of this system's compliance bridge 5 years earlier, linking internal audits to the IRS, the Department of Energy, and the General Services Administration. It had been my small miracle, one platform, one key, one accountable name, mine. I entered the command to begin credential retirement. The confirmation prompt blinked. "Proceed with deauthorization." "Yes," I said aloud. My voice startled me. A second prompt. "Are you sure this action cannot be undone?" I typed, confirmed. The terminal began cycling through layers of access. Each sequence detached a different piece of me from their network multi-factor codes, secure tokens, U2F verifications, legacy API routes. I had done this dozens of times for audits, never for myself. The phone on my desk buzzed once. I answered. "Lisa Monroe," came the steady voice on the other end, low and unhurried. She had worked with me through 2 federal reviews and 1 nightmare of an exemption renewal. "I got your notice," she said. "Is it official?" "It will be in about 40 minutes, Lisa exhaled. "You always told me they'd forget the fine print." "They just did," I replied. "Do you want to rescind authorization manually or let it time out?" "Let it expire," I said. "Cleaner that way." She paused. "They're going to panic when the system pings null. They built on sand. Lisa." I just stopped holding it together. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The only sound was the soft hum of the cooling fan. When the timer hit T-10 minutes, I opened the registry of authorized signatories and deleted my own record. The screen dimmed, then brightened again. Blank, clean, final. Lisa's voice came through one last time. "We're clear on our end. Mariel, you did it by the book. I smiled faintly. That's the only way I know. The line clicked off. The countdown reached 0. Monday began quietly. I woke before sunrise, made coffee, and checked the news. Nothing yet. The real noise would start once they tried to log in. At 8:43, my personal email pinged an automated alert from the compliance server I had built years ago. Access attempts exceeded threshold 5 failures. I could almost hear the frantic typing on the other end. By 9, my phone vibrated again. A message from Leo, one of the junior IT engineers. Hey, Mariel. Weird question, are you still active on the registry? We're getting strange errors with your credential ID. I didn't reply. I set the phone face down. Inside the office, I imagined the pattern unfolding exactly as the system had been designed, to the audit dashboard blinking red. The vendor portal locked. Payroll submissions bouncing with authorization missing stamped across the top. At 9:15, Kendra must have realized it wasn't a glitch. Later that morning, Lisa forwarded me a transcript from an internal conference call. The CFO had been the first to speak. It's just a minor hiccup in the handover. Probably a sync delay. The director of legal interrupted. Then why can't anyone access the federal contracts database server load? The CFO insisted. We'll reboot. They did. Nothing changed. By 11:30, the audit interface froze completely. Leo tried again and again, only to see my name grayed out with the note designation revoked. When noon came, the silence broke. Every employee in the executive suite received the same message at the same time. Subject: immediate review, required authorization signature missing. Sender: Internal Revenue Service. The email detailed that the company's compliance officer of record was no longer active. All contracts and exemptions would remain suspended pending clarification. At 12:02, the CEO burst into Kendra's office. Who authorized this? He shouted, holding his tablet like a weapon. Who the hell changed the credentials? Kendra's voice trembled. No one changed anything. She just left. I sat at my kitchen table, sipping lukewarm coffee, the echo of his question reaching me through memory. No one had changed anything. That was the point. By mid-afternoon, the story had already reached me through a chain of forwarded emails. Every subject line grew louder. Urgent portal locked. Vendor freeze. Immediate attention required. At headquarters, the tension must have been unbearable. Leo later told me it began when the CEO stormed down the hall, his voice booming through the glass corridors. He slammed open Kendra's office door so hard a picture frame fell from the wall. Who authorized this? He shouted, waving his tablet in the air. Every system is blocked. Kendra stood behind her desk, pale and blinking. I'm not sure what you mean. We've been trying to reach IT all morning. Behind him, Carla from legal appeared, calm but tight-lipped. I can explain, she said. Our compliance designation was tied to one individual, Mariel Dane. She was the only federally recognized liaison. The CEO turned on her. So appoint someone else. Carla didn't raise her voice. You can't just appoint one. The certification process requires months of background verification and agency clearance. Until then, we are unauthorized to file or renew any contracts. Kendra swallowed hard, but she left her badge here, she said, pointing to the plastic card still sealed in a Ziploc on the desk. Can't we use that? Carla looked at her as if she'd spoken another language. That's not how designations work. It's not a key card. Kendra, it's a federal identity. The moment Mariel revoked her credentials, this company lost its right to operate under federal exemption. The CEO dropped into a chair, rubbing his temples, then reactivate her. Carla folded her arms. She was not deactivated. She resigned. There's a difference. The air in the room thickened. Somewhere down the hall, a printer spat out a sheet of paper, the sound abrupt in the silence. Leo stepped in quietly with a trembling report. Sir, 3 vendors just froze payment. 2 more flagged non-compliance. The CEO lifted his head slowly. eyes rimmed with panic. "Find her," he said. "Now." But I was already gone. The call came just after 8 that evening. Rain had been falling since dusk, tapping against the window like a polite visitor I didn't want to let in. I almost ignored the unknown number, but something in me knew it was them. A hesitant voice filled the line. "Ms. Dane, this is Melanie from the office. The CEO asked me to reach out personally." I leaned back in my chair. I figured he might. She exhaled with relief. "He wants to make things right. The company values your contribution, truly. We're prepared to offer you a temporary consulting arrangement, double your previous salary for a few weeks, just to restore the credentials until a replacement is certified." The phrasing was careful, rehearsed. I could almost hear him dictating every word from across the room. "Melanie," I said quietly, "you're reading from a script, aren't you?" A pause. "He just asked me to help mediate." "I know." I turned to watch the rain trace thin lines down the glass. The city blurred behind it. "But you can't buy clearance. You have to earn it." "Please," she said, her voice small now. "They're panicking. Contracts are collapsing by the hour. Then they can start following the rules," I replied. Another silence. Longer this time. I could hear muffled voices in the background, someone whispering, someone slamming a door. "Should I tell him that's a no?" she finally asked. "Yes," I said. "Tell him it's not personal. It's procedural." When the call ended, the apartment felt impossibly still. I poured myself a glass of red wine and opened the secure portal on my laptop one last time. My cursor hovered over the form, already prepared. Final notice of disassociation. I read it once more, then typed the date and my name in full, effective immediately. I no longer represent Nexlia Systems in any compliance, regulatory, or fiduciary capacity. One click, and the confirmation window blinked. Notice submitted to 3 agencies. The rain kept falling, soft and relentless. I closed the laptop, leaned back, and listened until the rhythm steadied my breathing. By the next morning, the numbers began to surface like wreckage. 6 government vendors had suspended contracts overnight. Treasury froze incoming payments by 8:15. The company's name turned red on every federal dashboard that mattered. I didn't have to imagine the boardroom. I knew exactly how it would look. A long table, blinds half closed, the smell of burnt coffee and panic. Leo told me later that Kendra sat in the corner, hollow-eyed, staring at the badge she'd once called just plastic. The founder paced behind her, muttering to himself. "She was the system," he said under his breath. "She was the goddamn system." Carla from legal kept her voice even, though it trembled at the edges. "We can't submit anything without a valid liaison signature. Filing under her name now would constitute fraud. Federal? Not civil." The CEO rubbed his forehead until his skin turned red. "So we're dead in the water." Carla nodded once. "Until a new designation is approved, assuming the agencies even let you apply again." Someone suggested calling me back. Kendra's voice cracked when she answered. "She wouldn't do this to us." Carla looked at her, tired and sharp. "She didn't. She just followed the rules you ignored." The founder slammed his hand on the table. "There has to be a workaround." "There isn't," Carla said quietly. "You can't fake compliance, not anymore." Silence spread like smoke. The CFO flipped through a printout of frozen accounts, each page sounding like a verdict. Vendors were pulling out, investors asking questions no one could answer. Down the hall, Leo's team tried to log into the government portal again. Each attempt returned the same message: access denied. Authorized liaison missing. At 11:30, a courier arrived with a certified notice from the Department of Treasury. The founder signed for it without reading. His signature shook across the page. "Somewhere in the chaos," Kendra whispered. "We should have listened." No one replied. The printer jammed, spitting out half a page before stopping mid-line. The badge still sat on the table, silent witness to a company unraveling itself. It was nearly 5 when the phone rang. The number flashed as unknown caller, but I recognized the area code instantly. Downtown Boston, the executive line. I let it ring once before answering. A rough voice came through, lower than I remembered. "Mariel?" the founder said. "It's Alan." I leaned back, keeping my tone steady. "Hello, Alan." There was a long pause. I could hear papers rustling, a door closing, the sound of someone trying to shut the world out. "I just need to know," he said. "Did you disable the core?" I almost smiled. "No," I said softly. "I just took my name off it." He breathed out like a man who had been holding air for hours. "You have to understand, the company's bleeding. Everything's frozen. We can't even log into payroll." "I understand," I said. "You built everything around one clearance and never thought about succession." That wasn't a secret. He sounded smaller now. "You could fix it, though. Just help us transition for a few days. I'll pay whatever you want." "It's not about money," I said. "It's about integrity. You don't rent that by the hour." The silence that followed felt different from guilt. It was realization. He knew this wasn't revenge, it was the structure they ignored. Finally doing its job. "I trusted Kendra," he muttered. "She said it was all under control. She believed the badge was a prop." I said, "You all did. Are we finished?" Then he asked. "Yes," I replied. "You are." For a moment, I almost heard him thank me or curse me, but the line went dead before either could happen. I set the phone down. Outside, the sky had turned the color of slate, heavy and still. Somewhere in that downtown office, the monitors would be flickering back to idle systems intact, access gone, silence filling the space where my name used to live. I poured the last of the coffee from the morning pot and watched the steam fade. The work was over. The rest would simply unravel on its own. 3 weeks later, the harbor outside my new office shimmered under gray light. The small consulting firm I had joined operated out of an old warehouse near the docks, 3 rooms. 6 employees, 1 shared printer. It smelled faintly of salt and coffee, nothing like the sterile chill of Nexlia's towers. Most mornings, I arrived before everyone else. The quiet suited me. I spent the first hour reviewing contracts for 2 startups led by women barely 30, both of them brilliant and careful, but already showing the same hesitation. I once had the fear of being too visible in rooms built to forget them. That afternoon, I was training one of them, a recent graduate named Fiona, on how to structure compliance documentation. She frowned at the dense template. "It feels so rigid," she said, "like I'm just filling boxes." I shook my head. "Those boxes are boundaries. They keep people from rewriting your work when you're not in the room." She smiled weakly, still unsure. I saw myself in that look, the younger version of me who thought competence was armor enough. My laptop pinged. An email from Leo, short and cautious. "Just thought you should know they're under federal review. You were right to leave." I read it twice, then minimized the window. Fiona noticed the flicker on my screen. "Everything okay?" "Yes," I said, meaning it. "Everything's fine." The office door creaked open, and the wind carried in the scent of the sea. I reached for my new ID badge clipped to the edge of my blazer. It was smaller, unpolished, the kind that came from a local engraver rather than a federal database. But the name was mine again, Mariel Dane. Fiona was watching. "What's it like?" she asked. "Being the person everyone depends on." I thought for a moment before answering. "It's not about being depended on," I said softly. "It's about knowing the rules protect you too." Outside, a ship horn sounded over the water. I gathered the papers, stacked them neatly, and smiled. "Compliance isn't paperwork," I told her. "It's protection."